What's up, Lore Hounds? It's Koopa here. I'm outside the Elder Scrolls booth. Elder Scrolls Online. First time we're getting to check this out. This is Nick Konkle, the lead combat designer. So let's start off with this. Since it's the first time we're finally getting to interview you guys, what is going on in the world?
Well, I mean, it is what it sounds like. It's the Elder Scrolls, but we put it in an online world. So a lot of the things that people really want and recognize as sort of iconic to that franchise, a really immersive world that's living and breathing. You know, not a lot of UI or numbers in your face, and then an active strategic combat system and wide open progression, right? All of those things that are Elder Scrolls, but then we sort of added this modern social experience to it that really takes it into the online space and lets you play it with your friends, which so many people have been wanting to do.
Right, yeah, I've been asking for quite some time, and it's crazy actually, the UI you guys have is very slick. There's almost nothing on the screen unless you bring it up. So let's start off with the lore though, considering we love it. Where are we in the timeline? Because this is like, you know, the 6th Elder Scrolls, you could say, roughly, and we're all over the place in the other games.
Sure. It takes place about 1,000 years before the events of Skyrim, 800 or so years before the events of Oblivion. It's in the second era, for the people who are into the lore of Elder Scrolls, before Tiber Septim has risen and sort of united the different provinces. So it's a time of great conflict, and that's what this Alliance War is all about. Who is going to sort of rise and become the Emperor and control the Imperial City? So this period of the timeline is a little less uncertain, but is for the people who had many pretenders to the throne basically rise during this period, and that's kind of what the players are. They're trying to rise and control it, but there were so many that tried and failed before Tiber Septim was successful. You never really know if the player is Tiber Septim or if you're just another pretender.
So what does it do for the guild system? Because a lot of times in Elder Scrolls, you join the different guilds, get different things. Are there those guilds that we know so fondly not going to be there because they don't exist yet? Do we help create them?
I can tell you the mages. You'll find the Mages and Fighters Guild in any alliance all over the world in the game. And something that's a little unique to our game is there's actually a skill for Mages and Fighters Guild. So when you join, there's a set of spells if you join Mages Guild that you can learn exclusively by progressing through, you know, the ranks of the Mages Guild. And similarly for the Fighters Guild, you can learn new abilities that are, you know, sort of unique to that quest line. They each are sort of doing different things, but there's kind of an overarching threat to the Tamriel at this point, which is Molag Bal, who is the Daedric Prince of schemes and necromancy and slavery's bad guy, is basically engaged in a global threat where he tries to pull Tamriel into his plane of Oblivion called Cold Harbor. And the Mages and Fighters Guild in this timeline are doing their best to help counter this on a global scale. So the Fighters Guild have taken this contract where they're trying to kill all the Daedra that are coming into this world and deal with all of this and take out the anchors that are he's using to pull into space. And then the Mages Guild has just gone through this phase in the lore in the previous era where they ousted all the necromancers. And so all of this knowledge of necromancy, which would be incredibly valuable to deal with the Daedric Prince of necromancy, is lost. And they're engaged in this large-scale effort to find it all. Right? There's books all over the world in ruins, and they need that recovered so that they can know how to cope with this global threat. And so there's kind of these activities in addition to the main quests where you progress through the ranks that these guilds are engaged in to help deal with global threats that anyone can participate in once you've joined those things.
So those two guilds are actually coming at the problem in two different ways.
Yes, absolutely.
Do we have other guilds that you just can't kind of talk about right now, or is it kind of like that's what was the focus?
Certainly those two are the guilds that we're for sure going to have at launch. We're certainly aware and are planning to add in the Thieves and Dark Brotherhood, of course. And we're going to see how far we can get that in before launch, but if not, it'll certainly be something that comes in right immediately after launch.
So you mentioned actually when you join a guild, you get a new progression line, and it really augments your combat because you end up getting extra skills and stuff like that. And as I was going through, and we just learned through the combat blog you guys recently did, that your combat is very Elder Scrolls style. You use the weapon you have, and by using it, you level it up, and the same thing with your spells and abilities. Why was the choice made to kind of stick there and keep it slow rather than the fast pace we're used to in MMOs?
Well, I certainly think that our combat is quite fast-paced and active in the way that I think Elder Scrolls combat is like that traditionally. But Elder Scrolls for all the different games in their franchise, have always brought a very visceral, immersive feel to their world and to their fighting. And I don't really feel like you could have a game that was really an Elder Scrolls game that didn't have that feel to it, where you were, zoomed out and, looking at your UI for a rotation of abilities. Like, that is just not appropriate for this universe. What is appropriate is you look at the world. Oh, he's attacking me. Block. Oh crap! I'm getting attacked from the side. Let me move around and reposition myself. And that's kind of the combat we wanted to have in our game, because that's what's appropriate for the franchise.
What do we have as far as grouping content to make it the MMO style? Because a lot of what we've seen right now is more taking the universe. It is Elder Scrolls and stuff like that, but we want to get to the point where now it's online, now we're playing with our friends, the thing we've wanted for so many years. Yeah,
so we definitely go up through various tiers depending on kind of the number of people you have. There is, as you played today and you noticed, there's a large story-based single-player game available for you that you can complete entirely solo if you want to. There's phases of it that are pretty difficult, and you can certainly group with another player and go through that with them if you are so inclined, or you can play it entirely solo. And then, as we go through kind of the tiers of this, you'll start to discover these dungeons that we call public dungeons, which are in various places, in the zone, several in each zone, where anyone can go into them, but they're hard. You wouldn't really be able to go in there by yourself. You could try, and if you're really, really strong and good, maybe you could survive for a while, but there's a story there as well, an objective there as well, but really you'd want to grab 2 or even 3 people and try and work your way through that. And the idea is you go to them and you find people who are similarly engaged in trying to defeat this, and you group up on the fly. So there's the more traditional dungeons, the instance ones, that is an experience specifically for 4 people that other people don't also join you in, right? You can create multiple different versions of this and play it together as a group. And our take on that is a little unique from others in that it's very story-driven. You're completing this entire story with a cast of characters with your friends. And as you're playing through your first initial round of levels, going from up to level 50, you're getting the first part of that story. And then when you get to level 50, you unlock the second part, and it takes place in the same dungeon, but nothing about it is the same. The layout will be different, the monsters are different, the story is different, the bosses are different. It's not the same experience, other than that is the second part of what you did while you were leveling. And that is sort of what the end game of the PvE is like. Oh, all these stories that I started and I'm curious about, me and my friends can go through and learn what happens with each of them. And they're much harder, of course, because it's at the very end. But it's cool because it's it's story driven as opposed to just, hey, there's a bunch of trash, kill all that, kill a boss, yay, loot, next. It's continuing that feel of immersion in the story, which is so important to the Elder Scrolls franchise.
Yeah, and also in the story, it's our choice that is very important to the Elder Scrolls fan. So choosing the way we want to go about, killing the guy or what have you is a huge thing. If we're in an instance, does someone take lead on those decisions, or is the game kind of fracture for the people taking different choices?
It kind of depends, right? If you're in the overworld, that's something I think you bring it up. We basically ensure that you can play together, so there's not any way you could go into an alternate layer of the world than someone else so you can't see them or anything like that. Or, we do our best to avoid that sort of thing because we want it to be a very sort of cohesive world. But we do a lot of, hey, I made this choice where I allowed someone to die because they were bad, and you saved them because, you're trying to play the good person. And, that's a morally ambiguous choice, but we would each experience the world in slightly different ways as a result of that. I might go to the next town, and because I didn't save this person who was a bad guard, I can just walk right in the back door. They're not guarding it. But you, on the other hand, you need to bribe them, or maybe they owe you a favor, and you can do something else, with them, depending on that. And your choices sort of progress with you and matter as you go through your leveling experience. In a dungeon, it's the same sort of deal, right? It kind of depends. In some scenarios, you're actually playing together as one entire group, but anytime there's a choice in the game, it's up to you to make it, and no one else makes it for you.
Interesting. So back to the combat. Another big thing is you can put on any armor you want, train whatever weapon you want, and all that. And there are classes in the game, but do you guys support the idea of the Holy Trinity being the crutch of getting through the 4-person dungeons and stuff, or can you actually get through these without it?
So here's what we've discovered in our places. Like you say, the the progression system is wide open. Just because I started with the idea of I was going to make a mage, if I just go grab heavy armor and a sword and shield and I just start playing that way, I'm going to advance in one-handed shield, I'm going to advance in heavy armor, I can take all the abilities from that, and I am not a mage. I'm a tank. That's what I decided to do. Right, yeah. I mean, I can then start going and progress in the mage skills as well, and learn spells there and try and make some sort of hybrid of battle mage, but that's entirely up to me. What we've discovered in our testing of our dungeons is the people who do, I guess, unusual builds, like say, light armor, so you're trying to be magey, but dual wield, and and they go all in for damage, or they're playing melee guys, and battle mages. They can do it. They can be successful. But the people who play that, like, hey, we're gonna have one person, and I'm gonna go all in, and I'm gonna go first, and I'm gonna be very defensive, and we're gonna have someone hang back and generally try to heal me. That's a pretty efficient way to play. Like, this kind of emerged naturally, as opposed to we force you to do it, otherwise you can't win. So the people who do have unusual builds, and it's 4 characters with unusual builds, we see it work, but there's sometimes a little more dying, unless the players are really skilled or they know how to get the absolute most out of their builds. And I think it's a little easier to control if you stick to those roles. So basically what we've discovered is, if you do really want to play that tank or healer style, and you go all in focusing on it, and you work with your teammates so that they go all in, that is a really effective strategy. And if that's what you want to do, divide up roles in that way, you can, and it works pretty darn well. It's actually kind of the best way to do it safely and efficiently. But if you want to do your crazy builds, we love them. That's what these games are about all the time, and those work too. And a lot of times people have a great time making things work that are a little unexpected, and it's fun.
It's nice to know that is viable, to have that challenge if you want to go that way, just to kind of mess around. Especially, hey, it's an MMO. I'm going to spend a lot of time in this. I'm probably going to do some weird stuff. Yep. So now, the question that every interview about this is going to have, what's the release date?
So all we've announced so far is 2013. So all I can say is it's 2013, and so this year.
The next 200 days or so, the game will come out.
I narrowed it down a little, though. Yeah.
The window's now smaller as time goes on. And then, of course, another question is, you guys are one of the only MMOs, even in this building right now, that haven't really discussed the business model. And being the property that it is, a lot of people see subscription as a viable thing. However, almost everyone has been going free to play. What are you guys looking to do? Are you actually even entertaining that idea, or straight subscription, like no bones about it?
So unfortunately, we're not talking about the business model just yet. It's something we'll announce, of course, in the coming months. But I can tell you that, like the game, we're all about making a premium service and a premium game, something with really high production value, and that's what our goal has been all along. Is we want people who get into the game to feel like, customer service is available if I need it, I get my problem solved, and it's easy to do the things that I would want to do, and the game sort of reflects that as well. So,
thanks so much, Nick.
Yeah, you bet.